Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Friends, today is a special day, July 4th, Independence Day of America. We all want to talk about independence. We all like to live independently. We have to have freedom. We all need freedom. Therefore, we talk about freedom, free will, free thinking, like that. Specifically, we have to have freedom of thought. In the teaching of the Buddha, freedom of thought is given 100%. 100%. Buddha very clearly said, even if anyone wants to inquire about the Buddha, Buddha said, even it is possible. In a discourse of Majjhima Nikaya, middle length teachings, Buddha clearly said, when inquire about the Buddha, explorate, investigate whether the Buddha is Buddha or not. Even that opportunity is given. Even that opportunity is given in the teaching of the Buddha. That means we can question and cross-question anything in the teaching of the Buddha. No restrictions. We should not believe things simply because of certain things like our tradition, because it is given in the scriptures like that. In order to understand this, tonight we are going to discuss a very special discourse, which is the charter of the freedom of thought in Buddhism. That is the charter of the freedom of thought in Buddhism, which is Kalama Sutta. It's a very famous discourse. Kalama Sutta from the numerical discourses of the Buddha. Once, while the Buddha was wandering on tour together with a group of monks, Buddha reached the town of the Kalamas, which was named Kesaputta. When the Buddha reached there, together with the monks, the Kalamas of that particular village heard. It is said that the ascetic Gautama the son of the Sakyas, who went forth from a Sakyan family, has arrived at Kesaputta. Now a good report about that master Gotama has circulated thus. This is what Kalama said. That blessed one is an Arahant, enlightened one, perfectly enlightened, accomplished in true knowledge and conduct, fortunate, knower of the world, unsurpassed leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of devas and humans, the enlightened one, the blessed one, and he reveals a spiritual life that is perfectly complete and pure. That is what they heard. They talk about, now it is good to see such arahants, such a great one. Then the Kalamas approach the Blessed One. When they approach the Blessed One, approach the Buddha, as usual, some paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down to one side. Some exchanged greetings with him, and when they had concluded their greetings and cordial talk, sat down to one side. And some reverentially saluted him and sat down to one side. Some pronounced their name and clan and sat down to one side. Some kept silent and sat down to one side. Sitting to one side, the Kalamas said to the Blessed One. So they approached the Buddha and they respected the Buddha and sat aside. After that, they said, Bhante, there are some ascetics and Brahmins who come to Kesaputta, come to this village. They explained and elucidate their own doctrines, but disparage, denigrate, deride, and denounce the doctrines of others. They talk only, they praise, they talk and elucidate their own, but they denigrate, they denounce others. That's what they said. But then some others, other ascetics and Brahmins, come to Kesaputta, they further says, and they too explain and elucidate their own doctrines, but disparage, denigrate, deride, and denounce the doctrines of others. We are perplexed and in doubt, Bhante, as to which of these good ascetics speak truth and which speak falsehood. That's what they asked. Now the Buddha said, it is fitting for you to be perplexed, Kalamas. Fitting for you to be doubt. Doubt has arisen in you about a perplexing matter. Buddha said, come, Kalamas, do not go by oral tradition. This is how the Buddha gave 100% freedom of thought. Do not go by oral tradition, by lineage of teaching, by hearsay, by a collection of scriptures, by logical reasoning, by inferential reasoning, by reasoned cogitation, by the acceptance of a view after pondering it, by the seeming competence of a speaker, or because you think the ascetic is our guru. Even simply thinking that the person is our guru, do not accept, do not believe. This is the meaning. Do not believe, do not accept. Simply thinking that the teacher is our guru, this teacher, this speaker is our guru, our master. Then Buddha said, but when Kalamas, you know for yourselves, you know yourself, these things are unwholesome, these things are blameworthy, these things are censored by the wise, these things, if accepted and undertaken, lead to harm and suffering, then you should abandon them. That is the Buddha's instruction. One should not accept simply because it is our tradition, because it is seeming competence of a speaker, like that. So Buddha saying this, Buddha's kind admonition is understand, try to understand things, whether they are unwholesome, whether they are blameworthy, or censored by the wise, then do not accept. If they are accepted, if they are heading to harm and suffering, do not accept this. You should abandon them. That is the Buddha's advice. Then the Buddha questioned, what do you think, Kalamas? When greed arises in a person, is it for his or her welfare or his harm? His or her. For his harm, Bhante, they said. Kalamas. A greedy person overcome by greed, with mind obsessed by it, destroys life, takes what is not given, transgresses with another's wife, and speaks falsehood, and he encourages others to do likewise. Will that lead to his harm and suffering for a long time? Then they said, yes, Bhante. What do you think, Kalamas? Buddha further asked, what do you think, Kalamas? When hatred arises in a person, is it for his welfare or his harm? For his harm, Bhante, they said. Kalamas. A person who is full of hate overcome by hatred, with mind obsessed by it, he destroys life and doing other things like taking what is not given, conduct sexual misconduct, false speech, and Buddha said, if it encourages others, he encourages others to do so. Will that lead to his harm or suffering for a long time? They accepted. They said, yes, Bhante. Then the further asks, what do you think, Kalamas, when delusion, you see, greed, hatred and delusion, these are the enemies, worst enemies in us. When delusion arises in a person, is it for his welfare or for his harm? For his harm, Bhante, they said. Kalamas, a person who is deluded, overcome by delusion, with mind obsessed by it, destroys life, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, false speech, and doing this, and he encourages others to do likewise. Will that lead to his harm or suffering for a long time? Then they replied, yes, Bhante. What do you think, Kalamas? With the further question, what do you think, Kalamas? Are these things wholesome or unwholesome? They accepted unwholesome, Bhante. Blameworthy or blameless? Blameworthy, Bhante. Censored or praised by the wise? Censored by the wise, Bhante. Accepted and undertaken, do they lead to harm and suffering or not? Or how do you take it? Accepted and undertaken, these things lead to harm and suffering. So we take it, Bhante. That was the answer. Then, thus Kalamas, Buddha said, thus Kalamas, when we said, come Kalamas, do not go by oral tradition, by lineage of teaching, by hearsay, by a collection of spiritual scriptures, by logical reasoning, by inferential reasoning, by reasoned cogitation, by the acceptance of a view after pondering it, by the seeming competence of a speaker, or because you think that ascetic is our guru. But when Kalamas, you know for yourself, these things are unwholesome, these things are blameworthy, these things are censored by the wise, these things, if undertaken and practiced, lead to harm and suffering, then you should abandon them. It is because of this that is what was said. So this is how the Buddha gave them full freedom of thought. Further, Buddha asks about their opposite, greed, hatred and delusion. They are opposite, Buddha says, referring to them. What do you think, Kalamas? When non-greed arises in a person, is it for his welfare or for his harm? For his welfare, Bhante, they said. Kalamas, a person without greed, not overcome by greed, his mind not obsessed by it, does not destroy life, take what is not given, transgress with another's wife, or speak falsehood, nor does he encourage others to do likewise. Will that lead to his welfare and happiness for a long time? They said, yes, Bhante. Then, referring to non-hatred, what do you think? What do you think, Kalamas? When non-hatred arises in a person, is it for his welfare or for his harm? For his welfare, Bhante. They said. Kalamas, a person who is without hate, not overcome by hatred, whose mind is not obsessed by it, does not destroy life. He does not take what is not given, transgress with another's wife, or speak falsehood, nor does he encourage others to do likewise. Will that lead to his welfare and happiness for a long time? Yes, Bhante, they said. Then, referring to non-delusion, what do you think, Kalama? When non-delusion arises in a person, is it for his welfare or for his harm? For his welfare, Bhante, they said. Kalamas, the person who is undeluded, not overcome by delusion, whose mind is not obsessed by it, does not destroy life, take what is not given, transgress with another's wife, or speak falsehood, nor does he encourage others to do likewise. Will that lead to his welfare and happiness for a long time? Yes, Bhante. They agreed. What do you think, Kalamas? Are these things wholesome or unwholesome? They said, wholesome, Bhante. Blameworthy or blameless? Blameless, Bhante, they said. Censored or praised by the wise? Praised by the wise, Bhante. Accepted and undertaken, do they lead to welfare and happiness or not? Or how do you take it? Accepted and undertaken, these things lead to welfare and happiness. So we take it, they said. Then, Kalamas, the Buddha says. Further, Buddha says, then Kalamas, that noble disciple, how he becomes noble? Because of his non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. He's a noble one. That noble disciple, who is thus devoid of longing, devoid of ill will, unconfused, clearly comprehending, ever mindful, such ever mindful person dwells pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with loving friendliness. Such a worthy one, such a great, such a noble one is ever mindful, dwells pervading one quarter with the mind imbued with loving friendliness. He is extending sufficient metta, loving friendliness, towards all beings, with a mind imbued with compassion, not only metta, loving friendliness, karuna, compassion, and the mind imbued with altruistic joy, appreciative joy, mudita, with a mind imbued with equanimity, upekkha, 4 sublime abodes. Likewise the second, not only 1 quarter, likewise the second quarter, likewise the third quarter, likewise the fourth quarter, then likewise the above, likewise the below, across and everywhere he is sufficient metta all over the world, all over the universe, everywhere, and to all as to himself. He dwells pervaded in the entire world with the mind imbued with this great practice. Metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. Vast, exalted, measureless, immeasurable metta, without enmity, without ill will. This noble disciples, Kalamas, whose mind is in this way, without enmity, without ill will, undefiled and pure, has won 4 assurances in this very life. That is the Buddha said. Now Buddha says, such a person, it is because of his metta, clear mind, because of free thinking, free will, his own free will, freedom of thought, he practices 4 sublime abodes. Such a person, Buddha says, should have 4 assurances in this very life, 4 consolations in this very life. What are the 4? The first one, if there is, he is contemplating, he can assure it, he can even reveal this, declare this. If there is another world, and if there is the fruit and result of good and bad deeds, it is possible that this, with the breaking up of the body after death, I will be reborn in a good destination in a heavenly world. That means whenever he contemplates on himself or herself, such a person, a noble person like this, the person who has freedom of thought, who is practicing the 4 sublime abodes, he can be sure, he can assure that, well, if there is another world, as I am doing these good deeds, good thoughts, suffice metta, I will be reborn in a good destination. If there is another world. Then the second assurance. If there is no other world, now he thinks, if there is no other world, and there is no fruit and result of good and bad deeds, still, right here, in this very world, I maintain myself in happiness because I am practicing well, because I am practicing metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. It is because of that. If there is no other world, in this very world, I maintain myself in happiness, without enmity and ill will, free of trouble. That is his second assurance. the third assurance, third consolation, when contemplates about himself or herself. Suppose evil does not come to one who does evil, then right here I see myself purified in both respects. Means evil does not come to one who does evil. That means I don't do evil. Since I don't do, I don't get such results. No evil come to me. That's the meaning. I'm purified. Myself is purified. That is the third consolation, assurance. Well, the third one. Suppose evil comes to one who does evil. The fourth one. Suppose evil comes to one who does evil, then when I have no evil intention towards anyone, how can suffering afflict me, since I do no evil deeds? Since he is not doing any evil deeds, no evil come to him. In this manner, the Buddha pointed out these four different consolations. These noble disciples, Kalamas, Buddha finally said, this noble disciple, Kalamas, whose mind is in this way without enmity, without ill will, undefiled and pure, has won these four assurances in this very life. In this very life. So it is. Then the Kalama said, so it is, blessed one, so it is, fortunate one. This noble disciple, whose mind is in this way without enmity, without ill will, undefiled and pure, has won four assurances in this very life. So at the end, they elated by listening to the Buddha's this wonderful discourse, the freedom of thought, how the Buddha gave full freedom of thought to this group of people, Kalamas. Then they said, the Kalamas, they said, excellent Master Gotama, excellent Master Gotama. Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright that had been overthrown, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the darkness to those with good eyesight can see forms. We now go for refuge to Master Gotama, to the Dhamma and to the Sangha of bhikkhus. They went for the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. They became the disciples of the Buddha. They went to the Buddha's refuge, Dhamma and the Sangha, for their refuge. That's the meaning. Let Master Gotama consider us lay followers who from today have gone for refuge for life. That is how they became the disciples, became the followers of the Buddha. Friends, this is how the Buddha gave 100% freedom of thought in his teaching. As Buddhist, as cultured people, as civilized people, let's understand this wonderful teachings of the Buddha, and let's take this maximum benefit of the teaching of the Buddha. We do not want to cling to anything. We do not believe anything simply because of the speakers, simply because the teachings are there in the scriptures. How should we believe? How should we accept things? We should do our own investigation. We should do our own explorations. We should understand whether they are wholesome or unwholesome, whether they are blameworthy or blameless, whether they are wholesome, unwholesome, and then only then we should come to the conclusion, understanding the importance of it. When we understand in this manner, whether they are good or bad, right or wrong, wholesome or unwholesome, in such a way we have to think and accept in accordance. If things are blameless, if things are harmless, if things are worthy to accept, we should not hesitate to accept that wonderful teaching. This wonderful teaching, this marvelous teaching, this unparalleled teaching, the freedom of thought was given 100% given in the teaching of the Buddha. Let's take the maximum benefit of this teaching and let's practice, put this Dhamma into practice in our daily life so that we can realize real peace, real happiness of Nibbana in this very world. May we all realize this real peace, real happiness of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.